the jungle.
Right.
Sion in the top.
Wow, so Sion, meaning that Sheer is going to have a lot of priority playing through the top lane, and we're going to be getting front-to-back team fights here. I think the Azir is a huge bait. Azir globally versus Taliyah is like 0-17. It is very disgusting what we've been seeing as a matchup.
Is it really? Wow.
I can double check. I remember seeing, I think DPM post that it was like near 5% win rate for Azir this year so far. But it doesn't even matter. We don't have to talk about it because we've got a Galio here. I think Galio makes this team composition a little low range, so I want to see what engage supports we get as, I mean, Rel, Alistar, Leona, and Nautilus are already taken away, so who is really going to be good at being the go button here? Are we really kind of putting all of our eggs in the Shadow basket for this game?
Maybe. Now, anytime I see a Viego on a composition, I want to see reliable burst damage set up somewhere. You're not going to get it from Galio. You're not going to get it from Gnar. I mean, even if you stun up a lot of people in Mega Form, maybe, but that's very conditional. I almost would have preferred to see if you were going to get, like, I don't know, an Orianna, but since the Galio's already been locked in, I think the burst damage is really going to have to come from Awesome because it is all about trying to set up those reliable resets so that Viego can just go on a montage highlight reel with the resets.
Okay. Taking a lot of 80 carries away. The Draven from Awesome is something that we have been seeing time and time again. Big priority now for Xayah, I think. It can be a Kalista game, but I don't want to play Kalista into Poppy, Taliyah, Sion. Sounds incredibly miserable here. Ashe can be a big takeaway from the side of 1xN and Feather.
One of his standout carries during that first split where ThunderTalk really did become the talk of the town here in the LPL community. Don't play with my heart now. Don't do it. Yeah, I didn't think so. We're definitely just going for fun hovers now. I could see, since a majority of the tank supports have already been picked in this series, you can go for a hyper carry like a Jinx and allow yourself to get an Enchanter support. Not much that can be punished here. You already have solid frontline setup with the Sion and the Poppy. I think this is a great adaptation for ThunderTalk for Game 3.
Yeah, I like it too. It's going to be a little bit difficult, and we're kind of seeing a lack of damage here for FPX. So much focused on Shadow and how he'll be able to kind of win this game. He has so much setup. Now you have a potential Renata as well. Ashe Renata has to be so powerful in the laning phase. We need to see strong level 6s here, strong team fighting from FPX because they will not win an extended fight when it comes to damage, at least not versus a Jinx. Lulu has so much additional value in being able to stop something like a Gnar or a Galio or even this Viego. So TT playing the numbers game, wanting to play time. They want to try to extend this game for as long as possible. You have so much great front line with not only your two tank top laners in jungle, but this mid lane Taliyah provides an insane amount of protection with the Unraveled Earth.
Yeah, I really like ThunderTalk's composition way more than FPX's. I mean, the Viego is hype, Sheer gets his Gnar blind pick, but when the champions you're looking at all together, who is this Galio supposed to be, you know, diving in with? I almost feel like by the time if a Viego is solo ulting someone in the backline, and depending on his build, he might not be tanky enough to survive before the Galio arrives. Everything just feels so conditional on FPX's side. I think the execution, the bar of execution is much higher. Really, really tricky and really risky for them to be taking this kind of setup into what ThunderTalk have drafted.
I agree. I think it is you're kind of putting the onus on yourself to be able to find a successful play, and this does mean for the side of FPX, early game is a must. I think if they were able to find any kind of purchase, if they can kind of spice up the bottom lane matchup, that'll be their kind of bread and butter as to whether or not they can find a successful win here in the back end of the series. And I love that in our last game of this series, it comes down to our bottom laners. 1xN and Feather are all pro in split 1 for bottom lane. On FPX, this new bot laner in Awesome coming in for FPX for split 2 alongside Jwei. Can they bring this team to heights that we haven't seen them in a couple of years at least?
Yeah, we have to remind everyone that this matchup for both ThunderTalk and FPX is one of the easier matchups that they can get in this 8-week double round robin season. After this, both of these teams have to go up against teams like Top Esports and IG. Or at least on ThunderTalk's side. FPX have to play Top Esports the next time they show up on the Rift. Tough schedules ahead of them, and it's so important in a very rigorous schedule like this to get the wins where you can get them so that you are setting yourself up for a chance to, hopefully punch your way into playoffs. Definitely not going to be as likely against more of the favorites of the tournament. I do appreciate that ThunderTalk had SeTab lurking with Feather and 1xN early on in that bottom side just to make sure that they weren't going to get cheese in the bush, so they have bush control, because 1xN has to really shine on this hyper carry Jinx.
Okay, so jungler's already starting off. Shadow took a little bit of a modified path. He's going for Raptor's start into immediately moving over to the bottom side. I love what FPX are doing. Trade HP early and set up for Shadow to come here in a few minutes' time.
Yeah. Already the heal forced out of Feather, but they're still putting the pain and the damage down. 1xN getting flashed on by both Jwei and Awesome, and it's just that simple. 1xN, you can see in the pro player cam, getting a little frustrated just by the awesome raw power of FPX's bot lane duo.
I just don't understand why we're trying to trade level 1. Yes, Lulu, in terms of her damage, is great, especially early on, but you're playing against Ashe. Ashe level 1 is so dangerous. She basically gets like 1.5 abilities thanks to having that slow. So now you have a situation where the wave's going to crash. FPX can take an early back, and they can still look. You already see, I love what Shadow did, being very creative, being flexible in his pathing, not going back up towards the top side. I can't believe we're doing this as 1xN and Feather. They have been laning as a duo very well, but this feels like a very big mistake coming in for what has been otherwise an incredibly impressive duo.
And for Awesome and Jwei to step up now is so huge against a lot of the expectations we gave props over to 1xN and Feather before this series, based off the strength of what we saw from their first split results. And even in the placement standings where seemingly everything else on ThunderTalk was kind of falling apart, 1xN and Feather remaining reliable and consistent. This is the first time where we've seen 1xN and Feather really buckle under the pressure first before any of the rest of their teammates. Now Hoya might get jumped on by Shadow. Oh, the root connected. Hoya's just going to have to flash over the wall, but I feel like Shadow will do the same. And FPX not wasting a single moment to already get things done early on in the game.
Oh my god, Beichuan is bot lane. These two don't have flash. It's a cleanse available for Awesome. Oh my god, he gets under the turret.
Under the turret, now 1xN is just too far away from Beichuan. The bot lane collapses while the jungler for ThunderTalk was trying to set up for that dive. It's just going bad to worse, and now Beichuan will try to salvage it, but he's turning on to the support. Awesome is totally fine in this lane setup. We talked about how hard of an execution FPX had to really raise to for this composition against ThunderTalk. But if FPX are just blitzing TT like this early on, the wall of diff is going to be too big to overcome.
TT, we said that you had to play time. They don't instead. They tried to play through the lane. Beichuan was trying to bail out his bottom lane, and while all this is happening on the top side of the map, Shadow gets a kill. This was the win condition that we wanted to see for FPX. This 2v2 has been so insane for FPX. The fact that they're able to get so many of these summoner spells, the fact that this lane is now destabilized in the way that it is such a boon for FunPlus Phoenix now. I think these two have been playing lanes incredibly well so far here in the LPL. They've been having some issues with some of the better bot lanes, but so far, this awesome trade going over to FPX has paid off in dividends for them here in Split 2.
Now, for the credit of TT, Seems like on this last wave push, 1xN was able to pick up a decent amount of the CS, and in terms of level experience, he's not that far behind, but it has been very bizarre just to see TT's bot lane duo kind of misplay a lot of the early interactions with FPX's duo. Shadow now going to benefit off of the raw strength that FPX have amassed for themselves, getting the first dragon. Still 20 seconds before the first rotation of grubs. Maybe FPX will have a chance to at least contest and not allow ThunderTalk to get all 3 for free.
I mean, level 6 now here is available for Care. I think any part where you're going to play away from this bottom lane is very difficult. Care, however, is only kind of shadowing towards the top side. Viego is leaving this area. I think if Shadow is going to pretend like he wants to try to win this one, I think you really need to make sure that your bottom lane is safe here. The wave is going to crash. You don't know where Beichuan is, and you know he was already bottom lane once. Oh, wait a minute. The mid laners, they're starting to shadow.
Yep,
Mark,
yep.
I think, oh, man, they're teasing it, man. You can tell how tense it is here for TT.
I mean, but this is great for FPX. Shadow took the gamble that Beichuan was not going to dive without at least SeTab being able to assist there. But the fact that Care is able to at least respond and match SeTab's own posturing, it gives Awesome and Jwei enough safety while Shadow gets to reap the rewards. Now that the grubs are being taken, SeTab and Beichuan know they have to force something so that they do not let it go for free. Weaver's Wall going to come in. Care immediately setting the hero's entrance. Just not enough burst damage coming down on the Jwei and Awesome, and the dive has been dissuaded.
And now we get to see Shadow take topside camps as well. He'll grab a blue buff. It will be a trade here for him and Beichuan, but damn, man, FPX have come to play here in this third game. It seems like they get better with time in these series. They came out swinging versus IG, weren't able to clutch it out in the very end in game 3, but here against TT, against opponents that are a little bit more close in skill level to them, FPX have looked really strong here, and now coming into this third game, there is so much on the line for them. I mean, got to take a little bit of time here. It is the early set of objectives now going over to the side of FPX, and you're thinking Herald in 3 minutes, Dragon in 3 as well. They'll have access to things like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Ashe. I'm really liking FPX odds in this game right now.
Yeah, it's a solid 1,000 gold advantage. Now mostly concentrated into the pockets of Sheer and Shadow, since Sheer has been having a pretty nice laning phase for himself. Shadow taking advantage of the fact that Beichuan was spending a lot of time trying to give 1xN and Feather a little bit of that advantage back after Awesome and Jwei being able to really overpower them 2v2 by themselves. And I love how even when Shadow is playing a little bit more for himself and getting resources, Care is able to step up and be the protector on this Galio, posturing whenever that SeTab was looking for it originally, and then when he committed with the Weaver's Wall, Care not wasting a second, immediately casting R, ensuring that the dive does not happen. I was a little concerned that FPX were not going to be able to swap roles so easily, since Shadow was usually the protector and Care trying to be more of a carry role, but they have been able to swap the responsibilities pretty effectively so far in this third game.
That was Care's identity last year when we were talking about an FPX roster with Milky Way, and this roster was trying to play a little bit more around the jungle when Milky Way had that like breakout rookie split and became an international phenom for a lot of the community. So not surprising to see Care kind of revert to former forms, but I think the fact here is we still have FPX kind of wanting to play a very fast early game, destabilize the game. Again, we prefer TT's draft if this game goes late. So we're working within the win conditions that we set up for FPX. We need to see them continue to apply this pressure. And now, second set of grubs now spawning in a minute. Same thing here with the drag. I am personally more okay with trading the second set of grubs just to make sure that we are putting a timer here on the side of TT.
Yeah. You already got the first rotation of grubs pretty much for free, since Care ensured that there is nothing threatened by TT in that 4-man play towards Awesome and Jwei. So now, if you guarantee yourself the second dragon, like you said, you have a pretty fast Dragon Soul win condition in the next 10 to 12 minutes.
And they're swapping. TT are going to try to avoid the bottom lane now. Sion should be able to live. It's going to be a single plate. This dragon spawning in 20 seconds. I want to see how much work TT can get done because I think FPX has spent a little too much time trying to preemptively be here. I think they were a bit early to the fight. Are they going to even fight for this? Their bottom lane's recalling here. I really feel strongly they should be trying to contest this dragon. Maybe they're going to let Shadow solo this since they do know that Beichuan is somewhere in the topside jungle.
Kare's already cheating towards the top side just to protect Awesome and Jwei on what could be another dive attempt from Beichuan and SeTab. Hoya just taking a little bit of damage there.
All right, they
doesn't
get
have
vision.
TP available. And the Grubs will go over to ThunderTalk as you called out, but as you said it, FPX letting Shadow solo the dragon on the bottom side of the map while Awesome and Jwei answer 1xN and Feather on the top side. And I think it's going to show that FPX are trying, they're taking risks, but they're understanding that the payoff is by ensuring that Awesome and Jwei are still matching 1xN and Feather, and they're not letting this Jinx freely scale into the game. They're trying to maintain a little bit of that pressure, and hopefully FPX are able to find a moment in this mid game where they can accelerate it, they can find that destabilization that you pointed out for, and that's where FPX can get the snowball really rolling.
Kare's just going to be able to walk out of this. He is just playing Galio.
Too tanky.
Yep. What I am looking at now is the fact that 1xN has finished an item. It is going to be the Yuntals, so these wild arrows are going to eventually scale up to be able to grab a little bit more crit chance, and he is continuing. He's only down 500 gold, so realistically, this is not actually that big of a difference. Outside of the early laning phase, it has been pretty quiet, all things considered here, for the side of ThunderTalk. And I am looking at these dragons now. I think the fact that it is a Cloud Drake and not one that provides a bit more combat efficacy is something that TT are probably not too sad about, but the amount of movement speed after casting something like Shadow's ultimate on this Viego, when you have the Ashe ultimate as well, opens up a lot of plays if FPX are able to grab that for this team. So want to continue to see how they play around this bottom lane, and more specifically for me, how Shadow is now going to operate on this Viego, because you now have the Heartbreaker, you now can eventually be able to have a pretty big team fight, but you look at what TT have, this is a very difficult game to play Viego, still.
Yep. There's a reason why I outlined my concerns. There is a lot of front line on the side of TT, and even jumping into things like a Lulu. I can't tell you how many times I've been frustrated trying to play a Viego carry game and then getting polymorphed, and then you are cut short in the reset train that you are looking to carry out through. There's just a lot of things that Shadow has to be really conscious of, and because he's really the only person that's diving head first, oh my goodness, that was a Captain Jack cleanse right there from 1xN, just being able to ensure that the arrow did not stun him for too long. But that is a cleanse gone from 1xN.
Exactly. It's going to be a summoner spell that they can very easily replicate a find if they need to with the Ashe ultimate. Now, so this is an interesting piece of tech and something that you need to be thinking about when you're looking at pro play and you're thinking about even your individual play is item economy. Like, how many items do you really need to be getting online, not only in terms of power spikes, but like how many items are super crucial? And here for Feather, I think 2 items for his support is going to be so key, but which ones does he prioritize? Does he try to get the Locket of the Iron Solari to provide more shields, more protection? Does he get a Moonstone? Are you able to afford a Mikhail's as a secondary cleanse here for 1xN? But you can't build all of these at the same time. And for support especially, gold economy is something that you only have so much access to because you're not a farming role. So it's going to be very interesting to me to see what Feather prioritizes and how he's able to use that as we get further in this game.
Taking a look forward, Alk. Minute and 20 from the third dragon of the game. Minute on the Rift Herald, 5 on Otacon. Beichuan already trying to clear out the bottom side jungle so that he can be in position to potentially contest for this third dragon. I'm not sure if ThunderTalk have to play for this third dragon, because if you give it away, then FPX are on sole point. But maybe that extra 5 minutes is much more beneficial to the scaling factor that ThunderTalk have in a lot of these carries here.
Yeah, I think you have to ask yourself, and I'm sure ThunderTalk are thinking about it now. Like, are we strong enough in about 5 to 10 minutes from now? There we go again.
Repeat arrow on a 1xm, but the wild growth gives him a great health base, and a flash away keeps the bad guys of FPX away. Care. Just making sure that he can maintain prio into SeTab, but has to deal with the pushing power of Taliyah. But the rest of FPX trying to loom and cheat to see if they could collapse onto the Taliyah before she got a chance to roam on over. But now 1xn, no summoner spells available, and that arrow might just come out sooner.
Think about, look, how much they invested for that play, though. That was flash from Shadow as well as Jwei. As soon as the heal came out as well, you have to have thought, is this going to be worth it? They traded 3 summoner spells just to grab the one of 1xn. Is it going to be worth? We'll see if FPX can punish. We were talking about the cleanse being down. It will be up before that next Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Trying to desync these timers now. A lot of focus here from FPX onto this Herald. I think recognizing that, yes, they do have the Dragon stacking that they can go for, but if they can open up this mid-tier one, it takes away a lot of the safety that 1xn would have, and the ability for TT to kind of keep this map close-guarded and trying to protect themselves. SeTab is coming on over. Sheer does have teleport.
Oh, Keeper's Verdict punts Awesome away.
Awesome's
That's a lot
out.
of the damage gone. Shadow not going to get a chance to be able to compete for this Rift Herald. Might be forced to use the Heartbreaker just to get out over the wall. Good play by SeTab on the Taliyah with the Weaver's Wall. It really ruins FPX's chances for that contest.
Okay, and Sheer decided not to TP for this play. Wants to try to save it for a potential future play. It is going to cost SeTab to move on over. And this is going to be the third dragon going over to the side of FPX. So TT not only need to get a lot of work done with this Rift Herald. I think Sheer is fine. He does have flash. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, it's getting blocked. It's getting blocked. Okay. All right. Good body block around the dragon.
Unbeknownst to TT, there is a dragon being secured by FPX. And, yeah, thankful for Sheer that his teammates were able to intercept the big rocket.
Okay, but guess what, Mark? We now have 4.5 minutes, a Cloud Soul in the works for FunPlus Phoenix. Getting that movement speed would be a huge boon. Missing out on some of those combat stats, but you look at how close this game is right now. 1,500 gold in favor of FPX, but we talk about how tense this game has been. We talk about some of the individual leads right now. I will say, as much work as they have tried to put into 1xn, he has done a remarkable job of recovering this game, and now we're at a 2-item jinx. He's got the Runons, he's got the Yuntals. He gets an IE or an LDR third, and we're in business here for ThunderTalk.
And he's not even going for the tier 2 boots kite yet. Hang on, Arrow looking downtown. Who's the target? Was looking for SeTab, but he's able to surf on away from danger. The rest of FPX.
I found who it hit. Mimi's been hit, unfortunately, with an Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Mimi.
She is stuck on my chair.
Handshake. Oh, okay. It's on to Beichuan, not the ideal target. Trying to see if they can contest for this red buff here. But as I was saying, the fact that it's no tier 2 boots, 1xn is pretty much relying on the Whimsy giving him enough movement speed to be able to navigate these fights. And I think it's a good call, because now you can accelerate your own item spikes and just being able to match the combat power that Awesome offers on the Ashe.
Such a close game here, and I am taking a look. It does seem like Feather is opting for the Mikhails. He has the Forbidden Idol as well as the Kindle Gem, so we'll have access to that. Or it's the Redemption. I really hope it's not Redemption, but I can understand. And now TT, they get the Herald. They can now move this potentially into bottom lane if they really want to. Let's see if Beichuan has been practicing some drifts. Okay, hugs the wall. Nice. So he'll have the angle.
Okay, not quite yet.
Unfortunate, but I think really strong play here from ThunderTalk. They've now grabbed the mid-tier one. That's gold into the back pocket of some of the important members for ThunderTalk. And this game is evening up, Mark. We're getting closer and closer. FPX, they started off so well, but it has come to a complete halt here in this game.
Yeah, ThunderTalk have done a really great job of being able to slow down the game and just still continue on scaling into their strong spikes that we were pretty much highlighting at the beginning of the game once we saw these compositions drafted. And low-key, even though SeTab hasn't really gotten a chance to participate in some of these big fights here, I'm already just getting a sense of him right now. The way he's navigating on the Talia, the way he's been able to trade, and he's finding really good Weaver's Walls to create optimal situations for ThunderTalk in some of these objective fights. Obviously, he hasn't gotten a chance to really explode and find a big hero moment yet, but I'm keeping my eyes out, not just on 1XM, but also on the Talia.
Feather's got to be close to getting this Mikhails already, man. He's been out on the map for quite a little bit here. Seems like we're going to be getting a lot of posturing from Feather and the rest of ThunderTalk as they are putting a lot of focus towards this bottom lane. If they can grab this turret, it's nice. It'll be additional gold for them. Potentially a good setup here with SeTab next to Feather.
Oh, arrow right onto Beichuan. Do they have the handshake to layer up? The taunt is going to connect. Beichuan down to 50% HP. The flash on the hostile takeover.
Oh my God.
Beichuan's in trouble, but he's able to limp away. He escapes barely with under 200 HP. FPX still trying to maintain the defense on the tower, but they're going to have to give it over to 1XN and Feather.
And now the game is starting to deteriorate here for FPX. ThunderTalk survived the fight there. All of that damage onto Beichuan, and you have to think, Steadfast Presence giving additional resistances when this Poppy is low. This game only gets harder to play as this continues on. Assume is going to be finishing in LDR second. 1XN is getting closer and closer to what also looks like an LDR. And now Feather's finished the Mikhails. This doesn't get easier for them. And now I think TT have kind of crested the hump in terms of how difficult this early game was going to be.
Definitely a lot of frustrations were shown on the faces of ThunderTalk's bot lane, but their fortitude and the resolve was strong enough to last another 20 minutes afterwards. And now they're at a point where they feel confident and being able to rip the fourth dragon of the game away from FPX's hands, denying that Cloud Soul, at least for themselves. They're going to give time to Sheer to break open the tier 1 on the top side of the map. We'll see how much damage he can get on the tier 2.
And your question was, do ThunderTalk feel comfortable enough contesting that third Drake so that they can potentially stop the Soul? The answer is yes. They decided that they did not want to play for that third Drake. It bought them more time, and now they're in a position where they are so much stronger here. Yes, they're down 2,000 gold, but I'm definitely okay with that. It's just that, yet again, like game 1, Sheer is the only one with an advantage. But you look across the board, Hoya has given up so much, and you look at what his team has been able to accomplish. I think you're in a great spot if you are ThunderTalk.
Yeah, Awesome was trying to look for an arrow right onto Beichuan instead of 1XN, but the Mikhail's Crucible used saves the Poppy. Shadow, oh no. Okay, forced to use the Heartbreaker over the wall. Care trying to open up and then play onto SeTab, but Beichuan steps in, guards his mid laner, is able to escort him out back to safety. ThunderTalk still absorbing the plays attempted by FPX.
You can see how frustrating this game is going to be for FPX if they want a chance at being able to go up 1-1 here in their series scoreline. So, insane stuff. I'm so proud of ThunderTalk from being able to hold their cool. I think the fact that we've been able to see such a large majority of this roster play together for so long has contributed to, you know, them being able to perform at a bit higher of a level than maybe we would expect when we talk about the resumes of these players individually. And now we're looking at this game. FPX have not made meaningful strides past like 8 minutes into this game. Shadow has been, aside from that one kill onto Hoya, relatively quiet. He now finishes a second item in the Sundered Sky. He was supposed to be the carry as this game goes on. And now we talked about the interaction versus Lulu. This game does not get any... I mean, look at SeTab, man. SeTab and Hoya are almost level 16 at this point.
Mm-hmm. And Shadow is... Even though he has a 1 level advantage over Beichuan's Poppy, you're looking at the solo laners who are other carries that you want to try and pop. Man, not so much the Scion, but you want to be able to help eliminate this Jinx, this Hoya from the fight so that you can carry on the rest of it. Care getting caught out by Beichuan, but he can absorb it. The arrow hits one in the back, actually forces a cleanse. And the hostile takeover buys open space. That's one front line member gone from ThunderTalk. Shadow now looking for another Heartbreaker, just does it defensively. Jwei trying to step on forward. Hoya on this Scion is going to step up and grant them vision as the Super Mega Death Rocket connects on the Jwei. Not enough damage, and Care moving around the shadows here, waiting for someone to walk up here, but good blue orb from SeTab. It's going to at least scout out the fact that Care was trying to wait for a cheesy pick.
But think about what they got for that, right? It was a teleport out from both of our top laners there. It's the fact that Beichuan goes down, but I don't think it's very meaningful. 1xN does lose access to his cleanse as well as his Lulu's heal. So maybe that's something that does end up making a difference, but you look at how defensive this TT composition can be. A turtle around the shell, you know, the shell here for ThunderTalk to play around 1xN on this Jinx. We've got Baron that could be on the cards here. FPX are a bit of a slower team to be able to take this objective, so we still have the Otacon. We have Dragon spawning yet again in a minute. Do FPX feel comfortable to be able to flip the game around this objective?
Oh, Shadow. Gotta be careful. Oh, look at
Shadow!
the Hoya with the unstoppable onslaught. Shadow has got to be the big carry in the Viego,
He's
but
caught!
he's not going to get a chance to do anything. He gets punked by ThunderTalk, and look at 1xN on the resets with the Jinx. He's going to lay waste to the entire FunPlus Phoenix squad. Sheer and Care, the only members left, but they've got nowhere to go. Sheer might just have to give his life so that Care can escape, but ThunderTalk have come back with a vengeance. Ever since the early game, FunPlus Phoenix struck against 1xN and Feather, and vengeance tastes so sweet.
That pick onto Shadow might be what officially breaks this game. ThunderTalk got through a tough early game and now find themselves a dragon that they can start up on spawn if they really want to, and now Otacon GAs. So if you thought it was difficult enough, well, now the next 2 minutes, it's going to be near impossible to kill ThunderTalk and their bottom lane. I love what we got from Hoya. A lot of criticism from him. There is no bailout here because it was used on Shadow. There's no flash now available from Jwei. And TT make magic happen in game 3.
The gold lead completely gone from FPX. Just a matter of hundreds. It doesn't even matter to ThunderTalk. They pick up the Otacon. They have GAs on their side. Another dragon has spawned, but you have to imagine that FunPlus Phoenix are just not in a position anymore to be trying to fighting ThunderTalk at this state in the game. 3.5 items completed for 1xN, the Infinity Edge being able to get picked up here. And with a Lord, or not quite the Lord Doms, but a Last Whisperer component, this Jinx is at an all-time high. Flash and Cleanse at the ready. Weaver's Wall from SeTab will cut off Shadow. The Heartbreaker able to buffer through the wall slam by Beichuan, but it's another tower gone and another step closer to a victory for ThunderTalk.
And it is so dangerous now for FPX. They need to make plays probably onto SeTab at this point and make them quick, because even if you find it onto this Talia, well, there's still the Mikhails that they have to be able to deal with. You still have the Lulu. She can apply so many shields. FPX, one of the things that we kind of criticized them before was their lack of decision-making. The fact that they weren't willing to move forward and find a win when we were talking about them in Game 1. Game 2, it was Care and Shadow, but Shadow has been caught out a few too many times now, slowing down the game for his team. He has an individual lead, but Mark, I'm sure you've had this situation happen to you in solo queue. You have a lead over the enemy jungler, but it just does not matter. They have
we talked
so
about
much
it
more
during the
utility
draft
in this
phase.
game.
We looked at the draft, like, it is just so difficult to play as Viego in this setup. Where's your burst damage? Who is going to reliably get you the picks to set up for this composition? I mean, you have the Ash Arrow, but Beichuan can absorb it. Hoya can absorb it. And these guys are way too tanky to burst down reliably as a Viego. You are pretty much always on a solo mission. It's so conditional trying to play around Anar, even though that we know that Sheer has been able to perform super well on this champion in the past. It's just been completely diffused by ThunderTalk.
Oh,
they're gonna try to jump onto Hoya, but this is a very tanky Sion. He buys some time. Unstoppable Onslaught, pops the shield, has the flash, goes to the safety of his team, and with the wild growth, he's totally fine. They expended a lot there from the side of FPX, just at the cost of one summoner spell from Hoya.
I think that's fine, though. You stop ThunderTalk from being able to grab the Baron. Hoya's going to look for a recall and try to teleport back into this play. Same thing potentially here with SeTab. We talked about it before. The Baron here for FPX is incredibly slow. They were able to stop them from grabbing this objective. 2.5 minutes time before the next dragon. Every single dragon has to be ThunderTalk's if they don't want to give over Soul. And honestly, I think the fact that FPX are like, we want Soul, not because of, you know, obviously the combat power of having the Soul is nice. I think they really want the Elder Dragon, if anything, because that is going to be a huge equalizer.
I'm definitely in the same boat with you, because I don't think you're killing ThunderTalk without something as game-breaking as an Elder Dragon burn and an execute. It will be kind of the last finishing power you need to break big frontline tanks like Sion and Poppy in these engages, to be able to overcome a lot of the nuisances that is getting through Talia Unraveled Earth and Lulu Polymorph and Wild Growth. There's just been such a solid fortress composition that ThunderTalk have built up for themselves. Yes, early game was rough, especially for 1xN and Feather, but man, they were able to ride out the rough wave, and FPX didn't do enough to really capitalize on that snowball. And now here we are, 32 minutes in, ThunderTalk reaping the rewards of their patience and their fortitude, and FPX starting to struggle with their inability to make that snowball happen.
Such a big game. I love that Hoya recognizes what role he has to play in the team. A lot of the time doesn't have to be the carry. Almost won that game for them in game 2 on the Mbessa. They try to make the play onto SeTab. The aim is off. ThunderTalk now positioning over onto this Baron. It's being started here. Sheer, you're running out of Mega. He does not have it. We have not seen him participate in a team fight.
Mega Gnar completely gone, and all of that combat power from FPX. Even though ThunderTalk are forced off the Baron, they can just buy time and wait for this next dragon to spawn, where they'll feel a little bit better about trying to contest for the objective now that Sheer is not in Mega form.
Okay. How much damage is going to be real? Sheer will have access to Mega Gnar in a few. Beichuan's trying to move forward. I think this is too far.
The backline. Hoya follows up with the Unstoppable Onslaught. Shadows the target once again. The bailout. It doesn't save him. Hoya goes down, but there is no Viego Reset City. There is no Gnar to save FPX. The Super Mega Death Rocket puts a big damage marker.
That's
in the
it.
Of Jwei. That's it. ThunderTalk have completely taken headshots at FunPlus Phoenix in the sky and take them out of their momentum. ThunderTalk won't even care about the dragon. They're gonna push it in for the win.
And the Split One Darlings find their rhythm here in game number 3. Your all-pro from Spring, 1xN and Feather, make it happen in the last game of the series.
ThunderTalk able to rise against what FPX had to offer. Fortitude strong, resolve undeterred, and that is what I'm Thunder talking about, baby! Shadow's gonna revive at the very end, but it's not going to be enough against the strength of the comp. GG, well played. ThunderTalk take the series.
They go to 2-1. They'll find their first series victory in Split 2 proper. And I mean, what a front-to-back fight we got from the beginning of the series, with TT opening with a banger. Game 2, they almost won. This feels like 2.5 wins here for ThunderTalk in this series. And FPX riding off of a lot of high from their placement series, but I think maybe profiting off of some of the lower-end teams that they had to play against, the other third seeds from the groups, as ThunderTalk prove that they have come to play here in Group Ascend.
Yeah, I mean, so far the best that I have seen from FPX in this second split was definitely the games against IG.
Yeah, game 1.
And Game 1 against IG, that was truly remarkable. Remarkable playing from FPX, and definitely a shame that they're not able to close it out after being able to bring it back in Game 2 of this series. But also credit to ThunderTalk, who 1xN and Feather very absent in that second game on the Corki in particular, gets put into a really rough scenario early on, you know, taking bad trades into the Ashe and Kalista lane as Jinx Lulu. You could see that the frustration was starting to settle in on 1xN, but the rest of ThunderTalk able to bail them out. They were able to get through the early game, dodge a lot of any windows that FPX were trying to look for. You know, while we criticize FPX for not being able to get the snowball off, we can't say that they didn't try. They were trying to look off of Awesome's Ashe arrow picks, but I think it was just a lot of great defensive play, being able to absorb that and dodging out on a lot of what ifs that could have happened had Shadow been able to just break open the game. SeTab with the Taliyah also bailing them out a few times as well in some of those objective setups. ThunderTalk just really being able to come together and clutch up when they needed to the most.
I really think that that decision around the Herald potentially is why we're seeing the result here. Kind of talking a little bit more along the lines of those Ashe ultimates. Every time they try to make that play onto 1xN between like 8 and 15 minutes was in the mid lane, but he's only halfway up in the lane. He got the flashback and he's still sitting under the safety of his turret with the Lulu behind him. If they were able to break this mid-tier one and maybe put a little bit more focus, that is, I think, one of the areas where we saw Awesome before, kind of like, if Awesome's willing to step up a little too far in mid lane, maybe there's some play there. I wish that if there is some, you know, some ideas, some vision going over from FPX to knock down that mid-tier one, you get rid of a lot of the safety for 1xN, and then you can move your vision line. So, I don't know. I'm so happy to see that ThunderTalk are able to pull it together. I want to kind of hone back in on kind of the scope of this game. You are playing against an FPX that were struggling in Split 1, had a very surprising placements only in the qualifier stage. You think about their best of 5 or the best of 1s that they played, they looked pretty miserable for the most part. They got a free win from NIP for no reason, but this is, I think, to be expected if you only watched the main part of placements and Split 1 as well.
Yeah. Which is pretty funny.
40% damage share!
Holy moly. I mean, well, we said that they were putting all their eggs in the 1xN hyper carry basket, and like we talked about, I mean, the early game was really rough and a lot of things were going wrong in that early 2v2, but as soon as they were able to bail them out and just kind of ride through the mid game, there were not many, I don't want to say not many, but not enough successful attempts were made on continuing to push 1xN down the hole. And once we got to this fight, I think it just really goes to show that FPX, man, I'm trying to find a polite way to say this, but like we said, it is just a difficult way to play Viego with the setup that you have into the setup that ThunderTalk have drafted for themselves. And if you are going to be playing Viego like this, I feel like you can't be this far forward. You have to wait for other people to open up the fight for you. You have to be incredibly selfish so that you can pick up resets. But still, I just don't know how you reliably get them started off in the first place. Because
I mean, Poppy was permabanned all series long, and I think we get to see why that was the case. The fact that it is a flex between Beichuan and Hoya is such a potent duo. The fact that Hoya immediately plays and recognizes like what his role this game is I'm going to frontline, I'm going to play Sion, and there is nothing that Sheer is going to do in this series. I'll be honest, we had so much hype around Sheer coming in, and while he's had individual games that have looked really good, I think this entire series, Hoya gapped him pretty hard. Even if you think like, yes, laning phase, we saw Sheer with 30 CS, 50 CS on his lane opponent. That means nothing when I have Hoya walk into a team fight and be a frontline. When I have him playing Ambessa and he's finding engages onto your AD carry and wiping a team and even keeping them in that game too for as long as they did. Game 1, I mean, he kind of smacked him despite having the CS deficit going into that game. So I think Hoya recognizing that lane isn't everything, he played the weak side so well, and that is, I think, the style that we have seen historically work for Hoya for so long.
Yeah, and the fact that Sheer was kind of given a couple of free laning phases is disappointing in the FPX camp because, as you said, we had hyped up this guy as one of the few bright and consistent stars of this FPX roster. This is one of the rare instances where he didn't really look present. It didn't look like he was really there. I mean, even on the Kennen game, yeah, he's at least able to contribute slicing maelstroms in those fights, but half the time he was getting popped, and most of the time it was the rest of the squad really picking up the slack. The Kara, Yone, Shadow on the Sejuani. Awesome was a massive factor on the Jhin. Once again, when we look at like SVP ratings, you know, like who was the least deserving player or the least deserving of a loss on the side of FPX, I almost feel like it's got to be between Awesome and Jwei, because they dominated their laning phase. They did everything they could. Shadow plays for his own resources, which I think is totally fine given the context that he's playing Viego.
Give it to Beichuan.
Yes!
Yeah! He played so well this game, man. He actually kind of put up a pretty big win on the board on this Poppy. So, you know, Beichuan has been hit or miss. There's been a lot of games where I think